Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. It was reported that 36 explosions occurred in a short time on the territory of Russia. Clashes in the border areas increase their course. Russia has begun to take measures that are considered quite inadequate. Operations in the eastern Donbass increase their intensity. Revenge has been taken on an attacking Russian tank, and the tank is engulfed in flames. Losing close to 2,900 joules so far, Moscow's loss of soldiers has reached 85,000. According to breaking news, it was reported that the Belgorod region of Russia was bombed 36 times in 72 hours. Operations on Ukrainian soil have now spread to Russian territory. According to the statements, 22 flights were made from the Ukrainian border to the Zhuravlyovka region and 5 flights to the U.S. Tinka region. Twice it was reported that the Razumno area was flown and the Nizhny Olshanets area was also bombed. After all these developments, we see that the war has now spread to Russian lands. At the same time, it was reported that the intensity of the Russian bombardment of the territory of the Belgorod region increased significantly after the Ukrainian forces took control of almost the entire border, especially between the Kharkiv and Belgorod regions. As it is known, the Ukrainian army is making a strategic progress on the fronts. After this advance, the Ukrainian soldiers stationed in the areas they took back can easily shoot and attack critical areas. On top of these, Russia made moves to show that it was more worried about the war that spread to its own territory. It is known that there have been successive explosions at Russian military points in Russia's border region, Belgorod, especially in recent weeks. In these explosions, significant damage was done to many Russian military points. Russia, on the other hand, began to take small measures that did not seem very effective and were insufficient. Now Moscow has started to build a defensive line on this front as a precaution against possible attacks by the Ukrainian armed forces. It is known that this line, which was started to be formed, was used to protect against attacks in Crimea in the 16th and 17th centuries. It was also explained that at that time it was a system of defensive structures built on the borders of the eastern and southern fronts of the Russian territory. Even if Moscow begins to take such measures, it is known that Ukrainian troops carried out air strikes even from hundreds of meters away. This proves that the Ukrainian forces know no obstacles on the fronts and can successfully fight against all difficulties. This frustrates Russia's efforts. At the same time, operations on other fronts continue to increase. Ukrainian forces have been struggling to reach the main logistics center of Svatov on the Luhansk front since making a major breakthrough on the Eastern Front in recent months. If a success is achieved and control of the region is taken, the offensive and defensive operations of the Russian troops in the east and north of Donbass will become more and more difficult. Moreover, as it is known, the flow of military shipments to the front will not be achieved and great losses will have to be dealt with. It is also stated that Russia's southwestern front line is now more defensible along the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. For this reason, it has been reported that the Svatov region is most likely now a more vulnerable operational area of Russian troops. Moreover, with a significant number of officials within the Luhansk front, Russian leaders may also see keeping control of Svatov as a political priority. For this reason, the operations at the front are increasing in intensity with each passing day, and the efforts to advance towards the targets continue. However, it was reported that the commanders were dealing with military problems, most likely to maintain a reliable defense, and were trying to allocate resources for offensive operations further south of the Donetsk front. Russia's serious deficiencies in ammunition and experienced soldiers on the fronts cause it to become weaker both in defense and attack. Russian soldiers, whose operational power has decreased, have to suffer losses or retreat. At the same time, in other parts of the contact line, it was stated that the Russian army is trying to build defensive positions in order to stop the counterattacks of the Ukrainian troops in the advancing processes. Moreover, it is known that there are many newly mobilized Russian soldiers on these fronts. Due to the inadequacy of these soldiers, Ukrainian troops can make an easier advance on the front. As it is known, Russia has long been insufficient in terms of experienced soldiers on the fronts. This can make the work of the Russian commanders on the fronts even more difficult. Although Moscow mobilizes some of the critical fronts as needed, this situation causes bigger problems for itself. because these soldiers were trained in a very short time and they did not have enough equipment. As long as they are sent to the fronts where the violence of the war has increased, it will not be possible for them to achieve great success. According to the breaking news, it was reported that the Russian tank, which had attacked important positions of the Ukrainian troops, was destroyed. Ukrainian General Staff stated that the Russian tank, which tried to attack the positions of a Ukrainian brigade, would never attack again. Also, this tank, which was destroyed with accurate moves, was rendered unusable. More than 2,895 tanks of Russian troops have been neutralized so far. If these losses, which have reached serious figures, cannot be compensated, bigger problems will have to be dealt with. Moreover, the losses are not limited to tanks. At the same time, more than 5,830 armored combat vehicles and more than 1,890 artillery systems were destroyed. These losses caused the tension in Moscow to increase even more. As the war continued, Ukrainian President Zelensky made important statements. Ukrainian leader expressed his gratitude to all the soldiers who fought on the fronts and stated that each of them is a hero. In his important statements regarding NATO, he called for various steps to be taken to ensure the safe implementation of peace and justice. He also stated that many issues will begin to reach conclusions with NATO member states. President of France, Emmanuel Macron, was also discussed about the peace formula. Leader of Ukraine reported that Ukraine and Europe discussed energy security and the implementation of the substances in the formula. He also expressed his gratitude to Macron, who was very willing to support the preservation of energy facilities in the country. Regarding the electricity consumption in the country, he stated that the situation is more difficult in some regions, such as Odessa as well as Kiev, and that attention should be paid to the energy consumption in the regions for a while. Also, Zelensky ended his speech by thanking everyone who supported and fought for the country. On the other hand, critical aid to Ukraine continues. This time, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced that she will send €2.5 billion worth of macro-financial support to Ukraine. As it is known, such financial aids are of critical importance for the development of the country and the repair of damaged areas. If reconstruction works are started in areas that have been attacked for months, the areas will be repaired and Russia's attacks will be in vain. At the same time, Turkey allegedly delivered the Turkish Mars-Trulg 230 system with a range of 70 kilometers, which is stated to be almost equivalent to HIMARS for Ukrainian troops. It is stated that Ukrainian troops have started to use these Turkish-made weapons in attacks against Russian positions on the Donbass front. In these days when all kinds of military and financial support are very critical, every move is more critical than the previous one. In time, the steps to be taken by the countries and the decisions to be made will be awaited with curiosity. Now there is no margin of error for both countries. Any move will determine the fate of both the countries and the soldiers at the front regarding the progress of the war. If the Ukrainian troops can continue their success on the fronts with their accurate moves, Russia's especially mobilized soldiers will have more difficulty in achieving a success at the front. This will greatly affect the course of the war. On the other hand, if Russia cannot find a solution to its inadequacies in the military field, it will not be able to achieve success in the regions. This will also happen if he continues to attack infrastructures. As it is known, such attacks cause greater ammunition losses on behalf of Russia, while at the same time they do not even help to achieve success in the regions. On the contrary, it is subject to more sanctions. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.